Opposites attract. This is a phrase I think matches Chihiro and Hakuri pretty well, at least on a surface level. Hakuri has big, over-the-top expressions, while Chihiro is way more subtle. Hakuri, at least at first, was not a capable fighter, while Chihiro is. Hakuri grew up abused by his family, while Chihiro was loved. Wow, that got dark really fast. They even visually contrast. Hakuri is blue and white, and Chihiro is red and black. You get my point. The two of them balance each other out perfectly. Their opposite traits I listed, as well as the stuff they have in common, which I'll get into. Throughout the story of Kagurabachi, their friendship is important in key moments, and the impact they have made on each other is very telling. Surprise! Ooh! Guess what, guys? You are sat down for the Calcan Valentine's Day special. What? I chose this specific topic for this specific day to celebrate the love and connection our little guys have for each other. And I say this more so in the platonic sense for the objectivity of this video, but if you want to watch this video through a rose-tinted romance lens, like I'm sure a lot of you will want to, 100% go for it. Knowing me, I'll probably throw around a few jokes here and there, but it'll be sparingly. This video is about their relationship in general. Whatever that means to you, however you want to interpret it, watch this video how you want to. I've even got my Bucky's Valentine's Day shirt on for the occasion. We're locked and loaded. So subscribe if you think I have drip, first off. Subscribe if you like what you're hearing so far, too. I think it's about time we get into talking about the fellas of the hour, Chihiro and Hakuri. The start of Chihiro and Hakuri's story is in chapter 19. In our introduction to Hakuri, we see that he is already connected to Chihiro. So Hakuri was sitting in a restaurant reflecting on his pet praying mantis named Samurai that ran away. And it was tough for him, but he overcame that sadness. This internal monologue also tells us that he lost his family around the same time. With future context, we know he means he lost his connection with them, not that they're actually dead or anything, but still. His reflecting in the restaurant is interrupted by the chaos going on outside the window in the street, where Chihiro was fighting Sojo. Hakuri is about to be collateral damage, and he laments that he still has a job to do, so he can't die. Fortunately for Hakuri, Chihiro absorbs Sojo's attack, saving the surrounding civilians, including him. While Chihiro didn't know it at the time, he saved his future best friend's life. This action impacted Hakuri, as he was in awe of the samurai who saved his life. So they are connected in a unique way before they even properly interact. I'm gonna do a little interruption real quick. Once Kagurabachi gets an anime, I feel like so many editors are gonna use this wind blast with like samurai in the same way that Yuji and Megumi editors use the scene of Yuji running past Megumi and like there's like the blast of light. I'm calling it right now. And if I gave anybody ideas, I'm glad I did. Back to the more important matters on hand. We cut back to the present, where Hakuri once again mentions having a job to do, with more internal monologue. Then he says, "That day, a samurai lit my helpless existence on fire." He is reminiscing on Chihiro saving him as he gets beat up by criminals. Turns out, he was inspired by Chihiro's heroic actions and successfully saved a child from getting kidnapped. But in return, he got himself stuck in a bad situation. He wanted to be like Chihiro. Mind you, they haven't even met yet, and Hakuri is already a better person because of Chihiro. Great news for Hakuri, because his samurai has come to rescue him for a second time. Well, not exactly. Chihiro wasn't here to save anybody. It just worked out that way. Hakuri calls out to his samurai, saying the iconic line, "What I need in my life is a samurai. That's you." It's almost as if it was fate. The universe knew these two needed each other. I mean, that's what Hakuri calls it anyway. In his delusion, Chihiro questions Hakuri if he has a concussion, which is hilarious, but that's besides the point. Hakuri answers some of Chihiro's concussion questions, and answers that his name is Hakuri Sazanami. But of course, Hakuri quickly moves past that in his crazed state. Chihiro is done with it, so he tries to escape the crazed Hakuri, until he realizes Hakuri is exactly what he is looking for, information about the Sazanami family. So now, this is a two-sided dependence. They both need each other. And this craziness of coincidences will develop into a beautiful friendship. And there we go, the Hakuhiro meet cute is complete. Hakuri reveals to Chihiro that he wants to end the Rakuzaiuchi, confessing that he was disowned. And even though the bad things his family does was normal to him as a kid, he grew up to realize how disgusting it all is. Chihiro and Hakuri realize that their goals both align. If Chihiro steals the Shinichi like he is plotting to, then the Rakuzaiuchi would crumble. Hakuri asks Chihiro what he wants to do with the Shinichi anyways, and Chihiro is surprisingly vulnerable with Hakuri, admitting that he isn't sure what he wants to do with it, but he's scared of what will happen if he doesn't get it back, saying he wouldn't be able to bear it if the Shinichi was used for evil. Chihiro doesn't really open up like this, so it's shocking that he suddenly is to this kid that he met minutes ago. Hiyuki interrupts their conversation, and her and Chihiro get into a scuffle, where Hiyuki argues with him over people wielding enchanted blades. Hakuri doesn't fully understand the situation, but he jumps in and takes a hit to protect Chihiro anyways. His reason? Your circumstances. Who should wield the sacred blade? I don't really get it at all, but is it really all that complicated? You saved me. Beautiful. The pen was on fire. Hakuri, you've moved mountains already. Hakuri continues into a full-blown little monologue about how Chihiro has saved him twice now, and he ends it with, "There's one thing I can say for sure. That katana suits you." Just moments later, Chihiro reflects on Hakuri's words, "You saved me," and that gives him the passion to fight Hiyuki with all he's got, to keep a hold of Enten. Now, Chihiro has been changed by Hakuri, just like Hakuri was changed by him. Of course, this is still only the start, but it is important. This is the first example of a few of Chihiro and Hakuri giving each other the strength to fight. Hakuri by stepping up and saving the kidnapped child, and Chihiro now against Hiyuki, fighting to keep his blade. Chihiro takes the unconscious Hakuri with him back to Shiba, Haneo, and Char. Hakuri cries after hearing Chihiro's backstory, calling his destiny so samurai. Char offers to try and heal Chihiro's arm, but Chihiro asks her to heal Hakuri's injuries instead. Then, Chihiro vouches for Hakuri's character to Shiba, explaining how Hakuri protected him from a flamebone attack. Now, with Shiba trusting Hakuri, their teamwork begins. After giving Shiba and Chihiro the information on his family, they make their move, while Hakuri hangs back with Haneo, since he has no fighting competence. At the moment, anyway. While they are apart, Hakuri runs into his big brother Soya and tries to jump off of a building. What the fuck? Makes sense though, because we get the insight here that Soya abused Hakuri. Yikes. Even though the two of them aren't with each other at this current moment, taking Hakuri's past into consideration while discussing him and Chihiro's relationship is important because Hakuri didn't have support and care back home. I'll come back to this in just a second. Of course, we all remember the Shiba Soya Sky panel. Iconic. It's the Kagurabachi panel, at least back in the day, until this one dropped, and then this one dropped. Anyways, all of that goes down, and Shiba and Soya end up back at the Sazanami residence, joined by Hakuri shortly after because Kiora realized that he was Chihiro and Shiba's informant. Chihiro is shocked that a father would use his own son as a hostage, as it is so different from his own experience with his father. Kiora goes on to say horrible things about Hakuri, about his uselessness, his patheticness, his lack of talent, and even though it would be easier to bluff like Shiba did, Chihiro argues that, quote, "As far as I'm concerned, Hakuri is worth quite a lot. That guy saved me." Because of that, Kiora says to show him what Hakuri is worth to Chihiro. Then it cold cuts to Hakuri, Chihiro, and Shiba back from the Sazanami estate, and Hakuri apologizing because Chihiro gave up Enten, his own enchanted blade, the last piece of his father that he has, the sword that they worked on together. That's how much Hakuri is worth to Chihiro. And like, Chihiro does say that giving up Enten was part of the plan, but that doesn't lessen the impact of this sacrifice, I feel like, mainly because of the words accompanying it. So I'm gonna circle back to what I was talking about how Hakuri's family history plays a part in discussing him and Chihiro's relationship. Because in Chihiro, Hakuri finds the support and care that he was always lacking. Fuck, he even finds that in Shiba too, and even Haneo and Char. And while we're on topic, it's a good time to bring up that Chihiro also grew up lonely in a way. Not without love and care, because Kunishige had that covered, of course, and even Shiba swung by. But he certainly did not have friends his own age. Neither Hakuri or Chihiro had friends. They'd never had companionship, peers their own age. They are each other's first friends. And it's so sweet. It's so sweet. It's like no wonder they care for each other so much. What is Chihiro's first friend worth? Enten. Wow, would you look at that segue back into where we were at? Anyways, what I said earlier about Chihiro's sacrifice still meaning something, even if it was part of the plan, comes back here. When Chihiro tells everybody in the car during their recon that Hakuri was the deciding factor of giving up Enten because it wasn't an easy decision to make. Hakuri reacts negatively to that, thinking that he was a burden, but Chihiro clarifies that Hakuri gave him the confidence to let it go. And we see that Chihiro thought back on Hakuri's words, "That katana suits you," both now when recalling the situation and back then during the actual exchange. Then Chihiro continues by saying that Hakuri can continue to help them with information because he's the only one that can. And he finishes it by saying, quote, "We're counting on you." Of course, this is exactly what Hakuri needed to hear. Most of this scene is told through Shiba's perspective, except one panel in Hakuri's. So we don't really know if Chihiro was fully aware of how Hakuri was feeling in this moment and if his intent was to cheer him up, but it worked nonetheless. How precious is that? Shiba seems to agree with me. Recon gives us the glorious panels of Hakuri playing with Char and Haneo, but then Chihiro calls his name, so he drops everything, gets hit in the head with a ball, and he hustles on over. Iconic. Super cute. Let me come up with some important reason to justify bringing this panel up. It shows that Hakuri would do anything to help Chihiro, even leaving his important duties, playing with a ball. Ah, yes, a big sacrifice indeed. Recon also gives us a second set of similar panels, but this time Hakuri drops his important duties of eating ice cream. He gives up his ice cream to Char to help Chihiro, which me personally, I would not give up ice cream to answer an important question from a buddy of mine. Hakuri is seriously dedicated. At the Rakuzaiuchi, their plan unfolds. Chihiro busts in on his own, and while Hakuri baits Soya to lead him to Chihiro, Shiba faces the three remaining Toe to open the door. I want to point out this panel of a very brief flashback of them all crafting their plan, where Chihiro leans out of the window of the car to look at Hakuri to tell him that he'll take care of Soya. I'm bringing it up literally just because I think it's super cutesy. Sue me. And it's just cute. It's a cute panel. While running from Soya to intercept Chihiro, Hakuri spots that Chihiro is already there and thinks he's amazing. Oh, that's so cute. But Chihiro has been separated in a mysterious circumstance of this mysterious tree wall. Ooh. And Hakuri is on his own. He has to make a quick decision to either stall time by getting beat up by Soya, or to lead him to Shiba and have Shiba fight in a 4v1. Hakuri thinks to himself, I know that either way they won't blame me. They would still care about a worthless loser like me, because they're nice. As sad as that self-deprecating inner monologue is, it does say a lot about what Chihiro has done for him, because he knows that if he chooses either of those quote-unquote cowardice options, Chihiro would still have his back. Shiba as well, but he pictures Chihiro in this moment, so I'm ignoring Unk for now. Sorry, Shiba. In a weird way, it's sweet, even if Hakuri is calling himself a worthless loser. Knowing he has their support no matter what makes him want to be useful even more. So he chooses the secret third option of actually fighting Soya himself. While the tree wall was separating Hakuri and Chihiro, Chihiro was calling out Hakuri's name. Aww. And while he is fighting Yura, Chihiro is worried about Hakuri, and Shiba too, but he pictures Hakuri in this moment, so I'm ignoring Unk for now. Sorry, Shiba. Call back 2 minutes ago for ya. Back with Hakuri, his scuffle is not going great. While getting beat by Soya, Hakuri thinks about how Chihiro is going to bust through that wall any second now. Soya yells how Chihiro is only using Hakuri to achieve his goals, and that Chihiro doesn't love Hakuri like Soya does. That Chihiro will eventually abandon Hakuri, and Hakuri tells him to shut up, and that Chihiro isn't like that. We flash back to a conversation between Hakuri, Chihiro, and Shiba, where Shiba tells Hakuri that he actually can do sorcery. He just habitually put barriers up because he didn't think he was capable. Hakuri's face right here makes my heart break into 40 million tiny pieces, but that's besides the point. Chihiro assures Hakuri, quote, "will be there," if he doesn't figure out his sorcery yet. Which, aww, that's sweet. What a guy, that Chihiro. In the present, Hakuri keeps telling himself that Chihiro will come, and it is overpowering Soya's harsh words. He recalls Chihiro saying that they will end the Rakuzauchi together, and it gives Hakuri the strength to actually get up and fight. And he fires off a successful ISO. Even though it wasn't strong, it did work. And then, with perfect timing, Chihiro busts through the tree wall, slamming into Soya. The two of them are reunited and ready to continue forward together. Except, Soya is still able to fight. Hakuri pleads to Chihiro that he should keep going forward, and that he will put his own life on the line and handle it himself. Chihiro realizes that Hakuri must have had some type of breakthrough, and though he is hesitant, he listens, putting his trust into Hakuri. Chihiro arrives to assist Shiba while Tenri is using the Daitenseki. Hakuri has told Chihiro about Tenri, and Chihiro decides that he will give Tenri an honorable death. I think this does say something about Chihiro and Hakuri's relationship, because he cares so much about Hakuri that he now, by extension, feels sympathy for Hakuri's complicated and, quite frankly, shitty family. He sees Hakuri in Tenri, two sides of the same coin, one weak, quote-unquote, and one strong. But they both want the same thing, to be seen as useful and to be recognized by their father. On the topic of value and usefulness, Hakuri's Ice Lady backstory is after this, where we learn more of the gritty details of Hakuri's abuse, and that Hakuri takes that abuse because he thinks he deserves it because of his uselessness. And of course, Hakuri doing the right thing and opening up the door to let her go ends up resulting in the death of the Ice Lady because she took her own life. And before that, she told Hakuri that there is no hope outside of the cage. This leaves Hakuri wondering if she lied about him having value. He ponders that if he said different things, did different things, then maybe he could have proven that there was hope outside after all. He thinks of her, and he thinks of Chihiro saving him while fighting Sojo, and that powers him forward to land one final ISO on Soya. Oh, and I guess I should mention that he did awaken Storehouse during all this, so woo, good job, Hakuri. Simultaneously, Tenri's Daitenseki runs out at the same time. Hakuri makes it down to Chihiro and tells him that they'll get to the door and end this together. And damn, look at that expression on Chihiro. Wow. That's kind of crazy. That is certainly a look of affection. Hakuri assumes that Chihiro listened to his plea to fight Soya on his own so Hakuri could unlock his sorcery. Chihiro responds with, quote, "That's part of it. I just thought if I were to put a damper on your determination, we wouldn't be able to become equal allies." Emphasis on equals. That's so fucking sweet. What a guy, that Chihiro. Shiba is supportive of his children in the background too. I see that smirk, old man. While figuring out the limitations with Storehouse, look at these eyes that Chihiro gives to Hakuri. Holy shit, dude. When Chihiro enters the storehouse, he has an inner monologue about how him and Hakuri aren't equals, because Hakuri was able to do what he couldn't. Hakuri didn't hesitate to defeat Soya, even though they are family, while Chihiro let his own feelings get in the way. He calls himself naive, but he is ready to lock in now, as Hakuri says, "Chihiro, please slay my father." And Chihiro says, "You got it." I touched on this slightly earlier, but it honestly is crazy that Chihiro is hesitating to hurt Hakuri's family, because Chihiro takes lives. He cuts down fodder left and right, but he cares about Hakuri so much that he's second guessing, and that's honestly kind of crazy. Chihiro tells Kiora that his best would have been believing in Hakuri. Get his ass, Chihiro, yes. Chihiro and Hakuri have synced up teamwork, leading to the iconic grenades moment. Fellas, this is what we call a joint slay. Chihiro calls Kiora out for being a shitty father. Yup. Clock it, Chihiro. And their teamwork together is just fucking insane. Especially because Hakuri just awakened his sorcery, so they didn't really plan any of this shit ahead of time. They're just on the same brainwave. Like, Hakuri making that projection of Chihiro so the real one can slash Kiora. Like, what? Hiyuki gets in on the action, and she informs Chihiro that Hakuri threatened to leave her in the storehouse until she dies if she hurts Chihiro. An underrated moment. I think it's so funny. When the storehouse is crumbling because of Kiora dying with the Shinichi, and there's still people inside, Hakuri thinks back on Chihiro's words when they first met. When Chihiro said that if he stands by while an enchanted blade takes lives, that he wouldn't be able to bear it. Shiba pleads for Hakuri and Chihiro to not do whatever they are thinking because they are both at their limits and they will both die. But Chihiro and Hakuri are both on the same page. They will save every last person inside of the storehouse. They manage to do just that in an intense race against the clock. Excellent teamwork once again. After it all, right outside as the building is still collapsing, the two of them sit down on the floor and talk about what is next. Hakuri says that he has nowhere to go, and that his dad was always his North Star, so now he doesn't know what to do. Interestingly enough, Chihiro sees himself in Hakuri. An appropriate moment to do so, but with how different their dads are, this is a really cool comparison to draw. Chihiro and Hakuri both watch as Mr. Inazuma, the goat, and his rescued sister reunite. Chihiro tells Hakuri that he saved them. Hakuri responds with, quote, "Will you let me keep fighting with you? I want to keep proving the value you saw in me." My heart, that's so cute. This is a very high point in their relationship. It is a certified Chihiro and Hakuri moment, TM, trademark, for sure. It really sums up how they've impacted each other thus far so well. And this whole conversation is very intimate to me. There are a ton of people around. A building is collapsing before their eyes, but it feels like they are the only two people in the whole entire world in this very moment. The scaling back to a one-on-one conversation about the future, about their future, is so personal, and I really like this moment a lot. The two of them wake up at the same exact time, the day after the Rakuzayuji. Shiba notes that they are perfectly in sync, and it turns out they fell asleep at the same exact time, too, during their conversation that I just glazed. They are synced up. That is so cute. That's so cute. Oh my god. Their synchronization strikes again as they apologize to Shiba at the same time in chibi form for all of the dangerous shenanigans that they pulled at the Rakuzayuji. The whole group talks about what's next. Going to the Kaminabi. Shiba thinks that they should really think things through and slow their roll, but Chihiro argues, quote, "I've got Hakuri." Chihiro properly tells Hakuri that he is going to need his help again, and of course Hakuri is enthusiastic. Now we are in sword bearer assassination territory. Yippee. In the Kaminabi meeting, where Izuru threatens to kill Chihiro, you can bet your ass that Hakuri is rearing and ready to go, even though his sorcery is shot at the moment. On the train to meet Aruha, Chihiro and Hakuri have a conversation about sorcery and eternal contracts, and without any dialogue about it, Hakuri casually shares his snack with Chihiro. It's worth pointing out because it is just a nice gesture, but I mainly bring it up because the importance of food throughout Kagurabachi, especially in this beginning. It sounds a little silly, but food is what connected Char and Chihiro. It's thematically relevant. So Hakuri sharing his snack with Chihiro is kind of a symbol of their connection and their bond with each other. Also, it's just that they didn't have to be sharing food, but they are. This is a very simple and small moment, but it's such a nice one. Like, this panel didn't have to exist of just their hands with the snack container, but it does. It does exist, and it's super cute. It's just the casual conversation, the casual snack sharing. It's so peaceful and wholesome. When Hakuri finds Aruha and they get onto the train to escape, Aruha thinks they are cornered. Let me put this in basketball terms, alright? Hakuri gives Chihiro a dope-ass assist/pass so Chihiro can score a basket. Because Hakuri goes, no, they are. And then the train car door opens to Chihiro aura farming. Fellas, this is what we call a joint sleigh once again. This short time in this arc that the two of them are together is so fun. The arc where they met and became friends is over. So their friendship is fully established now. So now they just get to bestie all over the place. Their bestieism is showing. Like, the last person to get hit with Chihiro's iconic question mark face was Hakuri when they first met. And now we get this full circle moment of Aruha being hit with the question mark, and Hakuri calls Aruha screwy. I absolutely love it. It's very much a, wow, they've come a long way, haven't they? Because Hakuri was the last person to be on the receiving end of that. And then they continue to subtly judge Aruha together. Crying at this. Another joint sleigh incoming, because all Chihiro says is Hakuri, centipede, and Hakuri knows exactly what he means by that, and comes up with a way to evade that maneuver. Hell yeah. When Aruha and Hakuri are teleported by the Masumi to Samura, Samura runs up to Hakuri thinking that it's Chihiro because of his scent, but then he realizes he is mistaken, and he says, this little squirt smells like Chihiro, but he's not Chihiro. And fun fact, this is how you can tell I dabble with shipping, okay? The Japanese translation of this says that Hakuri reeks of Chihiro, or is wrapped up in, enveloped in his scent. The wording is different than the typical wording that they would use for smells like in Japanese. And I can't translate Japanese. I just know that for the love of the game. What good friends they are. They just smell like each other, you know? And I know you could take that as an implication of something inappropriate. I would never imply such things about my children, Chihiro and Hakuri. Natsuki and Aruha, that'd be another story. But anyways, I just think that moment's cute. I think it's funny. Does Hakuri frying his brain on the floor to transport Chihiro after Samura kills Aruha count as a Chihiro and Hakuri moment? It definitely happens. What does count, though, is upon arrival, Chihiro is looking at Aruha dead on the ground, and Samura immediately assures him, Hakuri's okay. He's not dead. Like, I don't think he wasn't even, like, looking at Hakuri. He was looking at Aruha and was like, oh my gosh, you did this? And Samura's like, don't worry, your bestie's okay. It's like Samura just knew that he would need that assurance after seeing Aruha and then Hakuri, and he's like, don't worry about one of them. The other one's definitely gone. But your bestie's fine. After Chihiro wakes up from the dead, Ro tells him that Hakuri is beating himself up over Aruha's death, and that Hakuri asked the Masumi to look out for Chihiro. Chihiro gets all shiny-eyed and sad-looking, and he goes, Hakuri! Like, all dramatic. While making the plan with the Masumi in regards to Iori, Chihiro calls himself weak and says, quote, all this time Hakuri saved me by sacrificing himself. I let him carry my burden. My weakness led Hakuri to this state. And his face is all scrunched up and furrowed when he says it. Here we go. Here we go, the moment you've all been waiting for if you know ball. While fighting Kaguri in the street, Chihiro thinks back on Hakuri saying, I need a samurai in my life. And Chihiro says, I'll become that samurai. And then he hits his first eye white purity style. Peak. Oh my gosh. Honestly, if I had to pick one moment that summarizes their entire relationship and dynamic, this is it. It's the, I need a samurai in my life. That's you. And then I'll become that samurai. That's fucking crazy. Oh my goodness, they love each other so much. But all of this self-doubt from the beginning of this arc, of course, is just good character stuff for Chihiro in general, but it also adds interesting layers to him and Hakuri's relationship because he feels that it's necessary to also prove the value that Hakuri sees in him, that it's a two-way exchange, it goes both ways, that they both want to be enough for the other. A while passes until we see Hakuri again, and Chihiro's way too much going on to have Hakuri on his mind at the moment. Hakuri is informed of the ongoing invasion in headquarters and is informed that Chihiro is fighting Samura, and Hakuri goes, "Chihiro, ... Another one of those dramatic moments. Hakuri is running through headquarters, needing to lock the fuck in with all of the chaos going on around him, and to hype himself up, he reminds himself that Chihiro is also out there fighting, which gives him the confidence to refer to himself as a core fighter. Hakuri freaks the fuck out because Akuto tells Hakuri to kill their barrier guy so they can call for reinforcements. Hakuri doesn't want to kill the Kaminabi barrier guy because he's on their side, even if it is a smart idea. While contemplating, he remembers Chihiro opening up when they first meet again, about how he wouldn't be able to bear it if an enchanted blade took innocent lives, which gives Hakuri the motivation to act, to think quick on his feet, and then he storehouses the barrier guy instead of killing him. Back with Chihiro, Soga brings up his mission of eradicating evil and declares that the Sazanami boy with the powers of the patriarch must be killed. Of course, that is Hakuri. Soga just said to Chihiro that he is going to kill his bestie. So, of course, Chihiro freaks out. His expression shifts to a big one, and he starts to defend Hakuri to Unk. This is the last one. This is the last one that we have so far. Shiba teleports Hakuri away from immediate danger. And, of course, once again, he goes, "Chihiro!" The dramatic longing. Like, Chihiro. Like, oh my goodness. You silly geese. So that is all of the Chihiro and Hakuri moments, TM, that I have gathered, and I think that exist. So I laid it all out for you, but we're not done yet. Because we just went through all of their moments, but now we gotta bring it on home. Fully dissect what the relationship is between Chihiro and Hakuri. Their relationship is equally important to each other. Sure, they were both useful to each other, but it was never really about that. Maybe for Chihiro for like 3 minutes, but past that, it's always because they admired the other. Hakuri admired Chihiro's samurai ways, and Chihiro was drawn in by Hakuri's character, by his words and his actions. Chihiro really didn't need protecting, but Hakuri was returning Chihiro's unintentional favors. Their initial need for each other ended after the Rakuzayuchi was toppled, but of course, they weren't going to call it quits there. Their connection and attachment to each other is way too strong after everything they've been through together. And throughout all of this, they also proved that they work so well together as a duo. Through working together at the Rakuzayuchi, Chihiro gave Hakuri something he yearned for, which was to feel needed, to be wanted, to be helpful. And he was welcomed even with his shortcomings. And Hakuri gave Chihiro something that he needed. A peer, a friend, an equal. Their impact on each other is felt even when they aren't with each other physically. They think of each other in moments of need and desperation to give themselves strength to keep going. Is that not the most beautiful thing you've ever heard? I think that is so precious. And that's why I bring up even the really minor moments where they just say each other's names with shiny eyes and ... at the end. You can feel their fondness in a single word, just their name. The expression on their faces, you can just see it all, how much they care for each other, laid out in a single word. Their dynamic is honestly so wholesome because they just truly care for each other so deeply. They are so emotionally attached, and it is so sweet. Chihiro makes Hakuri better, and Hakuri makes Chihiro better. It's a beautiful exchange. And to me, that is the relationship between Chihiro and Hakuri. Ooh, I'm done. Oh my goodness. Manifesting Chihiro and Hakuri reuniting soon. I can feel it in my bones. I'm recording this before chapter 111, so did it work? Editor Cal, can you tell me in post, did this manifesting work? What's up? Editor Cal can here. See? Editor Cal can. So, chapter 111 did come out, and it definitely was not them reuniting. But I'm feeling it for chapter 112. I'm feeling it. I love Chihiro and Hakuri so dearly, so this was an absolute pleasure to craft and make. Even though it took forever. Guys, the notes for this video are 5,000 words long. Isn't that crazy? Anyways. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe. We're pushing 2K. We're getting real close. Like this video as well. And comment down below. I love reading what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching. And bye-bye. But we're not done yet. We're going to address the nations. And honestly, today I really just have one. Haku Hero Nation. You're welcome. Haku Hero Nation, we ride at dawn. That's right.